Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Basim. Sorry.
No issues. How are you, sir?
No issue, sir. No issue.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Pradnaman, sir. You can start now.
Good afternoon to all participants and my dear HOD as well as colleagues. I welcome Dr. Pradeep Kumar Choudhury on behalf of Department of Mechanical Engineering, VELAMMAL Institute of Technology. I'm going to give a short bio of Dr. Pradeep Kumar Choudhury. So, Dr. Pradeep Kumar Choudhury teaches economics at Zakir Center for Educational Studies, School of Social Science, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Before joining JNU, he worked as a regular faculty at the Institute for Studies in Industrial Development, a research institute of the ICSSR Government of India, and as a research fellow at Public Health Foundation of India and Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, New Delhi. His PhD is in the area of economics of education from National University of Educational Planning and Administration, NUEPA, New Delhi. Currently, he is collaborating in a major project titled Delhi Research Implementation and Innovation (DRIIB) with Aicte Delhi, sponsored by Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Recently, he completed an international collaborative study in an experimental setup with Stanford University, USA, that aims to assess and improve student learning in engineering and higher education in an international comparative perspective. Also, he has completed 2 other studies sponsored by ICSSR and UGC that examine the issues of inequality in educational opportunities among marginalized youth in India and the importance of financial incentives to bridge this. Research has dealt with various aspects of applied development economics, especially issues related to education, health, and labor. Specific research interests include privatization of education and market policies, educational inequalities, school choice, education and labor market, and family investment in education. He is editing a volume co-authored titled Contextualizing Educational Studies in India, Location of Research Policy and Practices, forthcoming by Vitech. His research has been published in several peer-reviewed journals like Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, Asia and Pacific Policy Studies, Economic and Political Weekly, Journal of School Choice, Quality Assurance in Education, Millennial Asia, Higher Education for the Future, and also a chapter in edited books, reports published by.
Yeah, should I start? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So first I should apologize for the delay, but I was with the impression that it will start at 2. I am sorry for that, because usually session starts at 2, but this was some exception. So that's good, starting early. But I was not aware of that. I was not given that, I could not notice that very well. So I'm so sorry for that. I'm late by 11 minutes. So for that, I apologize to everyone, including the participants. That's one thing I would want to say before starting. Second point, I want to clarify that I was looking at the eminent personalities. If I won't be audible and all, please let me know. I can adjust something, mic or something, because there may be technical glitches in between. So I was looking at the list of participants. I was seeing I am one of the odd men out in the list, because I am a social scientist by training, not an engineer or not even taught to any engineer in my career. So I am a social scientist. I look at engineering as a discipline. I critically look at engineering as a discipline because my PhD was on engineering education. So I did my PhD on engineering education. Then afterwards, I am continuously engaged in this discipline. And from a social science perspective, particularly from interdisciplinary perspective. So in that sense, expecting too much from me may not be good. That's my point I want to say, but I will give an overall perspective of engineering education in the country, including the assessment. That is the focus of this training program. Given the scenario that engineering education is facing in the country, so arranging this or organizing this faculty development program is quite critical for the country. I would congratulate the organizers for this, because this is because our engineering education is at crossroad. That I would also argue in my lecture. So in that context, this kind of faculty development program are really welcome. AICT's initiative and the college initiative is quite welcome. I should appreciate that. So I have
Thank you, Professor.
yeah, I will share my slide. So I should go screen share, I think.
Yeah, you can share, Professor.
So I will go share screen and then yes. Yeah. So this is it visible, my slide?
Yes, Professor.
So I'm just enlarging it, or is it? I think this is enough. I can see this.
You can enlarge it.
In that case, I can't see any photograph. But anyway, yeah, this is good. Is it okay?
Yes, Professor.
Yeah. So I will have how much time till 3 o'clock, including interactions?
Actually, up to 3:30, 3 to 3:30. That is a question and answer session.
Okay. I have enough time. Yes, good.
Yes, you can extend up to 3:30.
No okay, thank you. This is a good planning, giving more time for a discussion, and also this is a good plan. Yes, so I like that. So what I'm trying to say also, my this one request to the participants. It's not like I will lecture and you will listen and we learning and all will happen. Rather, let us make it as a communication between you and me. So I will also learn equally from you. So that's my expectation, because I am a social scientist. You all are engineers. So let us take this session as an interactive session. In between, if you find any question, you can raise your concern. So I will be happy to discuss that, or you can give your inputs. That's also another point to the participants. I don't have much idea about the participants as like my colleagues who are participating here, but I think they all are the faculty in engineering, several engineering colleges in the country. I think that's what was written to me. So my idea here is, let us understand the assessment in engineering education. While I will go in for the assessment aspect, but I will go for the overall perspective, that is engineering education, or overall problems or issues that engineering education is facing in the country. That also I will explain, and then I will enter into the assessment, because those are linked. That's what the idea I am trying to take. Before getting into engineering as such, let us understand some points, which I call them as starting points. Let us understand some of the points that how the higher education sector in the country is growing. If you see the higher education sector in the country, including engineering education, technical education, all kinds of higher education in the country, there is a radical shift in the thinking on the nature and role of higher education. The nature and role of higher education itself has changed over the years. Particularly, I have highlighted that in post-1990s, post-economic era, economic reform era, there is a clear shift in the thinking on the nature and role of higher education. That is a critical point that we should understand. What kind of changes that we are seeing in the higher education sector in the country in the post-1990s, that I have highlighted a few of them, but there are several others also I have not highlighted here. First important thing that I want to highlight here is the withdrawal of the state. I have highlighted in the red color. There is a clear withdrawal of the state over the years, that I think almost all of us know. Being in the engineering discipline, you know better, that there is a clear withdrawal of the state. When I say state, this is the government I am understanding. Clear withdrawal of the state, and role of the state in higher education is being questioned. There are several theories in higher education sector or in the education and development area that clearly says that higher education should not be publicly funded much, particularly in the international case like World Bank, and there are several other developmental agencies. They are coming out saying that the cost of the higher education should be shared with students and parents. There are 2-3 reasons to that. One important reason that is being said is this produces private returns, that the people who are getting benefits out of higher education, they should also pay for it. That is an important thing that came out in the discussion, in the policy discourse. That is one. That is leading to my second point, which is there is a clear promoting of the role of the market. Once there is a withdrawal of the state in the higher education sector, clearly there is a promotion of market. Market means private sector. Let's see. So what I'm trying to say, there is a clear patronization of higher education as a marketable commodity. Instead of arguing that this is a merit good or as a what you call public good or quasi-public good, we tried in the post-1990s, we're trying to argue, or even in the implementation part, we are trying to see this as a marketable commodity. Like any other commodity in the market, this is also a marketable commodity that can be bought and sold in the market. That's the reason there are several private higher education institutions have come up, and engineering is a discipline where the participation of private sector is paramount. Like it's almost in some states, it's close to 95-96% of the total institutions and enrollment in engineering education. I think Tamil Nadu is one of the such states where private sector's participation in engineering education is quite high. So these are some of the policy changes that came out. What is happening in this? Why it is so? One important thing that I have argued here is it largely recognizes, I want to underline this fact, that it largely recognizes the individual economic benefits. I just said the private returns of higher education. It refuses in the sense that it doesn't take much into account clearly the vast magnitude of social benefits. There are two important aspects of imparting education. One is economic benefits or private benefits. The other one is social benefits, the society gets. So when I say social benefits, that means the externalities that is being produced from the education system. There are several externalities that are being produced in the education system that we all enjoy. So when I am getting education, for example, I am not the one who is getting benefit only. There are several other individuals who are also getting benefits from my education. So that's an important aspect that I said is the societal benefits or social benefits. Those are not being recognized well. There are several social benefits that are being said in the literature. For example, higher education empowers women. Higher education reduces crime. Higher education gives better health outcomes. Higher education gives better democracy. There are several other benefits that are there in the higher education through higher education system. I want to give an example in Norway. I think Norway is a country where the Human Development Index is very high. I think top. So in that context, this was being said in one of the lectures that if you see the people who come early to the offices in Norway, for example, they park their vehicle far away from the building, office building. The reason is if someone comes late and he or she can reach early to the office by parking the vehicle close to the office space. So that's an important understanding. These are some of the part of citizenship education and all that I am not bringing in clearly here, but I'm saying that there are several societal benefits that are clearly visible in the literature, both theoretically and empirically. Those are not being recognized well in the policy making. Policymakers are largely recognizing the economic benefits. That's an important reason for marketization of higher education, and more so in engineering education. Universities today or higher education institutions today are considered as knowledge factories. That's my last point on this. Yeah, somebody is doing something in the. Yeah, somebody is putting some marks in this slide. So can you please don't do that, because I may not be seeing that. I may not be see that. So please don't do that, I request. So universities as knowledge factories. So that is another important thing that is being understood. If you have any question or all, you can come out or you can talk to me. I don't know who did it. So investment in higher education to maximize profit is an important thing that is being debated. So these are some of the preliminary ideas that I want to. Let us get into the engineering education of the country. Can it be erased? Basim, are you there?
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
I don't know, somebody put all the marks in the slide. I don't know who did.
Yeah, but I'm removing it. I'm removing it.
Yeah, no, not an issue. It's visible still. But if anyone having any issue, they can. I don't know who did it. But okay, let us understand the changing role of engineering education and engineers. That is another important thing that I want to highlight. There is an increasing use of technology in human life. That all we know, even in the amid of COVID-19 pandemic, it is more clear that there is a clear role or increasing use of technology in human life. Role of engineering is being redefined. If you see the engineering as a discipline of study is being redefined. That's an important aspect that I will link that with the assessment in later part of my lecture. So that's an important thing that needs to be carried out. Why I am saying so? Because if you see the literature, it clearly spells out that the nature and composition of skills that are required for an engineering graduate is going through a big change. What kind of engineers that we required, let's say 20 years back, yeah, the century to 50 years back, or even let's say 10 years back, is changing a lot. So that's an important thing that has an impact on the assessment and also the teaching learning processes of engineering that I will clarify in the later part of my lecture. But this is an important point I want to raise at this point, that there is a change, what we call radical change in the engineering discipline itself that needs to be understood. This point will be clear further once I go ahead. Second important point that I see engineering when I study this is it helps in addressing several new and emerging challenges. There are several new and emerging challenges that are coming in the society, and that is actually can be solved through engineering discipline or by engineers. For example, I am giving some example like providing more equitable access to information, because information in this knowledge economy, information is an important component of development. Let me clarify this. Information is an important component of development. In that context, it's important to know how engineering or engineering discipline or engineers helping in providing equitable access to information. That's an important thing. Similarly, environment is a big issue, environmental protection also, and also natural resource management, artificial intelligence. There are several important things that engineers look at in the society. Those have changed the engineering discipline itself, and thereby the teaching, learning, and assessment procedures. That I will come little later. So engineering as a discipline has changed. There is a radical shift, and that needs to be understood by everyone. Mainly the teachers also, teachers, we all are teachers. So that's an important thing that the teachers should understand very clearly. The other important point that I want to bring in is expansion of knowledge economy. That we all know. There is an expansion of knowledge economy. There is the impact of specialized human capital. I want to explain a bit on this. Impact of specialized human capital for rapid economic growth is being realized in the knowledge economy. The importance of specialized human capital. When I say specialized human capital, I mean the engineers, doctors, and management graduates and all that. Those are called specialized human capital. There are human capital and also specialized human capital. So role of specialized human capital in the knowledge economy is growing. And that's an important thing that we need to understand. The economic liberalization that I said in the first slide after 1990s and the growth of IT industry. The growth of IT industry is paramount, like huge. Though in 2008 there was a crisis, IT crisis and global economic slowdown, but still IT as a major hub of job creation and also boosting the economic growth is continuing. That is considered as a catalyst or as an important point for growth of engineering education. That is being said in the literature very clearly, that the growth of engineering education is largely because of the growth of IT sector. And that you can see very clearly from the engineering discipline itself. I looked at in one of my works that what kind of disciplines are growing in the engineering education. I saw several of the private colleges that are coming in the engineering discipline across the country. They are trying to initiate IT courses, let's say computer science engineering, information technology, electronics and communication engineering. Some of the IT related courses, those are being more, and intake is also higher in those courses. Whether enrollment is going on in that trend and all is a separate issue that I will come in later on. But what I'm trying to say, the expansion of IT sector and the expansion of IT sector and its impact on knowledge economy has expanded the engineering education, particularly in the IT field. That is another important change that we have seen. Access to engineering education. Another important thing, as a social scientist, I look at this point very carefully, that the expansion of engineering education or accessing engineering education is seen as an aspiration for social mobility. This is an important point that we need to understand. Once at some point of time, let's say in 2000, early 2000, engineering education was largely catering to the need of the elites. So the hegemony of elites, that was with the field of elites. But what is happening over the years, that even the lower middle income groups, even the little, what we call, in the bottom line of the socio-economic groups, they are also trying to enter to engineering education, let's say in the last 10 years. One of the important reasons that the literature says is there is an aspiration for social mobility. And the people who are accessing engineering education or the households who are sending their children to engineering education, they are clearly saying that or thinking that this will help them to move upward in the social mobility ladder. So that is an important reason that also.
happening. And also it also maintained to social status and all. These are some of the thinkings that still going on in the engineering education. This actually attracts, I say, new waves of low income students. So low income students, let's say middle income, low income students, there is a wave of accessing those kind of students to engineering education. Also access is being, what do you call it, not a difficult task now given the huge supply of engineering institutions in the country. So that is another important thing that I see in the, what are the, these are major changes that I see in engineering education. That's an important thing that I am highlighting. So new aspiration and demand. So there is an aspiration and also real demand among parents for their for engineering education of their offspring or children, led to the market-led growth of engineering education in India. That we all know, market-led growth, because largely the engineering education in the country is market-led, particularly in post-1990. If you see that, that is the case. Let me get into another important thing, the major trends that we see in engineering education. So as I said, there is a liberalization of technical education, including engineering, an increasing presence of the private sector. I'm not going to highlight this, I just said about this. Private colleges, if you see the data, AICT data, latest data, private colleges now enroll more than 90% of the total student in engineering education. In some states, it's more than 95%, like southern states, Maharashtra, Gujarat, some of the western states, it's more than 95%, both institution and enrollment. So there is a liberalization of technical education, that is clear, that is first important thing. Second one is, this is correlated with another important thing, that there is a decline in public investment in higher and technical education. If you see the data, I was looking at the public expenditure on technical education. I have not given here, but I have seen very clearly that there is a declining public investment in higher and technical education in the country. If you look at the total expenditure on higher and technical education, technical education out of the higher education, it's very less and it's declining over the years. That means what I am trying to say, that there is a clear decline of the public investment in higher and technical education. I want to highlight one more important thing in this context. Sometimes what the government does, government try to look at the, gives us the figure with public investment in engineering education or technical education by looking at the IITs and other major government colleges in the country. But there are several colleges which are even run by the government, by state governments, which are not getting enough fund. Let's say they are located in semi-urban areas, even some are located in rural areas. So they are not getting enough fund. What actually government is trying to show, government is trying to say that we are spending a lot, but spending a lot in pocket of institutions, in a set of institutions, let's say IITs or some other NITs and other technical institutions. But if you minus this IIT and NIT's investment, then there is very less investment in technical education in the country from the government side, public investment. This has led to, this is being linked in the literature, in the studies, that the declining public investment in education and increasing privatization of engineering education has led to declining quality. That I will get in when I look at the assessment issues. There is a clear decline in quality, which is linked with poor quality, poor labor market outcomes. There is a clear poor labor market outcomes, like students, engineering students are not getting the required, like the eligible jobs, or even they are sitting idle. There are some studies that estimates the waiting period for engineering graduates. The waiting period for engineering graduates is too high. Like the students, the waiting period is defined in this way: the completion of the course and getting into a job. So that gap is increasing over the years. So an engineering graduate completed, let's say, in 2017 and not getting a job in 2020, so there is a 3 years waiting period. So that is increasing over the years because there is less options for them in the labor market. And that is quite complicated. This is quite complicated when we see that several students have taken student loans for supporting their study from the commercial banks. And there are some studies that say that, or some media reports at least, say that the students who are accessing students' loans and accessing jobs, they are finding it's very difficult to pay the student loans because they are getting less amount of salary than the installment they are supposed to pay. So what is happening is, let's say I am supposed to pay 15,000 an installment to the bank as I have taken a student loan, but I am getting 10,000 as salary. So these kind of situations are coming, and several media reports are showing this. So what I'm trying to say is declining quality and poor labor market outcome has clearly resulted from the declining public investment and huge private sector expansion. There is a oversupply of engineering institutions in the country that has distrusted the entire ecosystem of engineering. I look at this problem like this, that there is a oversupply over the, let's say in early 2000 to till date. In between, there is a less growth of engineering education, particularly after 2010 or 2008. But before that, if you see, there is a clear expansion of engineering education. And that oversupply, what we say, has actually disturbed the ecosystem of engineering education in the country, the demand-supply mismatch. And that has resulted for the production of engineering graduates and labor market outcomes. Many private engineering colleges, if you see the Aicte data, I was looking at the Aicte data, also several media reports, including the reports that is being produced by the Hindu and other leading newspapers. There are several engineering colleges are being shut down. Some of them are converted to supermarkets, private schools, gymnasiums in Haryana, in Uttar Pradesh, in several other states. That is seeing very, and several other engineering colleges have seen low enrollment also in the engineering education. That is now seeing, and they might be shutting down in next couple of years. So what I call this, the kind of trends that is emerging from engineering education, I see this as a crisis. Let me say very clear. There is a clear crisis in engineering education that is going in front of us, and that we are experiencing now. And this is found to be a countrywide phenomenon. It's not a very regional perspective. Maybe little have more in southern region, less in eastern region, but it's a countrywide phenomenon. My point is, we all of us, as the stakeholders of engineering education, we must understand why an engineering degree that was prestigious at some point of time, let's say early 2000 or 1990s, is in death knell, or now it's in trouble, is at crossroad. That's my question to everyone, that why it is happening. Some of the issues I highlighted, including the private sector participation and all, but is it the reason that we are seeing, or something else is there to understand the phenomenon? That is an important thing that I want. Am I audible and clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So now let me give some data on the engineering education of the country. If you see, I was looking at the total enrollment, or the latest data available is 2018-19 from All India Survey of Higher Education. The data is from 1975-76 to till date, 2018-19. That is the latest available data while I was doing this analysis. So I found that you see the enrollment pattern of higher education among disciplines. I have taken major disciplines: arts, science, commerce and management, engineering and technology, and medicine. See the engineering and technology, in engineering and technology graph, that is the violet color, I think. From bottom, if you go from the bottom, there is a second one. Second one is violet color, which is showing engineering and technology written in there, ENG/TECH, technology. That is declining after 15-16. It started increasing 2005-6. It increased a lot, but it became stagnant after 2010-11 and started declining now, 2018-19. It's the enrollment. So there is a clear decline in the demand for engineering enrollment, engineering education. That I don't think I need to explain you. That is clear to all of us in the data and also in the policy reports, also media reports, everywhere. Even Aicte is clearly saying that there is a clear decline in this. That's what I just argued, that there is a oversupply and there is a decline. But medicine and some other disciplines are increasing. Overall enrollment in higher education is increasing, but engineering education is declining. But I want to highlight one important point in this. It's not like engineering has reached its peak in enrollment. Still, total enrollment share to engineering is very less. Not even 20%. Now it is less than close to 14-15%. So it's not like very high share of total students are enrolled in engineering. For example, if you look at the share is still below 15%. If you see, this is an interesting figure that I want to show you. Enrollment as a share to intake in engineering education. What is the enrollment and what is the intake and their share? So if intake is 100, let's say, if enrollment is 50, so I am seeing that is 50%. That means what I am trying to see that the vacant seats. Let me clarify this graph. There are too many seats which are vacant in engineering colleges. That is known to everyone. If you see the two time periods I have taken, the data available in Aicte, 2012-13 and 18-19. 12-13 is the blue bar and the 18-19 is the other one. this Meru, or you can call Meru. So if you see that by region I am saying, but in the last bar, 2 bars gives the all India figure. What the blue bar saying? Let's say 62.36. That means only 62% of the total seats in engineering have been enrolled, was enrolled in 2012-13 or filled in 2012-13. That has again declined to 51. That means it's saying almost half of the seats in engineering education is being vacant in 2018-19. So if there are, let's say, 1 lakh total seats, hypothetically I am saying, then only 50,000 are enrolling in engineering education. There is a huge vacancy. Though it is little more, let's say in western region it's 60%, in southern region it's 54%, but in northwest, central and all, even eastern region it's very less. Even northwest region it's less than 40% of people are enrolling. 60% are lying vacant. So you see that that's the crisis and the oversupply of the concept that I analyzed before. I am trying to see. So this is vacant seat in engineering technology in India. You see that I have again clarified the point. There are 3 things here. One is the blue graph, that is total vacant seats in a number, that is showing in the left side. I have multiplied that with lakh. The other one is percentage to total intake, and percentage to total intake in government, all institutions and private institutions. I have looked at differently for private, the green one. So if you see the green one, then the vacant seat as a percent or percentage to total intake, vacant seats as a percentage to total intake is more in private institutions than overall. That's the point I want to, because largely engineering education is run by private sector, and if you segregate that with all government and private, then private institutions vacant seats are very high, and that's increasing over the years. That's another important thing. That's quite increasing. The trend is showing, the graph is showing this overall increasing trend. I was also looking at where this is happening. So I was looking at the discipline-wise enrollment in engineering education. I divided the disciplines into traditional and IT related courses. Traditional courses I included civil, mechanical, electrical and all. IT related I included information technology, computer science, electronics and communication engineering. Then those I considered as IT related, I clubbed into 2. And then I see that the graph is showing this over the years. If you see the enrollment clearly, discipline-wise enrollment in engineering education as a percentage to total enrollment, if you see that this red one is IT related. IT related is declined over the years, and now it is increasing because after the 2008-9, the crisis, IT crisis, there is a clear decline in the IT related disciplines enrollment. But now over the years, now it is starting to catch up, increasing over the way. Decline now increasing, but traditional discipline is trying to increase over the years. That's another important thing. I don't have much explanation to this, but I look at this from the labor market perspective, but I need more inputs from all of you on this. Let me get into the important concern that we are going to discuss, and link which is linked with the assessment and teaching learning in engineering education is quality concerns. There I will start and I will go ahead with that. Is it clear to everyone up to this point, or anyone having any concern in this? If anyone wants to raise any concern, then we will take up, and then, or any point anyone wants to add, faculty colleagues, so that is welcome. Then I will go ahead with the second part of this. Basim, are you there?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm there.
Anyone having any concern now? Otherwise, I will go ahead. Because one phase I am trying to look at the engineering education as a discipline from social science perspective. Now I will get into the core issue of assessment and quality. So anyone having any point they can raise, else I am going ahead. So this is one important thing that we are getting in is this is a big debate. I think all of us know quality concerns, because this is a debate that is not only linked to that it's very independent. It's not very independent. This is linked with what I discussed in my earlier slides. Because what I am trying to say, why I discussed those earlier slides is one of the reasons is I want to link them while I will discuss these concerns. It's about the liberalization of technical education, oversupply of engineering graduates, IT crisis, then the overall apathy of states' apathy to higher education, declining public funding to higher education. These are some of the macro factors, I would say, or macro regions to the decline of quality of engineering education, that I will leave. That's the an important region. That is an important region that the region for discussing those points as a background note. Quality concerns in engineering education. Let us understand this very clearly. If you see the annual employability survey 2019 that is conducted by Aspiring Minds, I think because we have very less information or data on quality. So there are some independent surveys by private agencies that we consider as the source of information in several cases. Though sometimes they have methodological concerns, but we consider them as the best alternative for us because we don't have much information on this. So, but that is being Aspiring Mind survey is being considered as one of the one of the important surveys that is to measure quality of engineering and management graduates. So I have taken data from that. That Aspiring Minds reveals that the 2019 latest survey reveals that 80% of Indian engineers are not employable. When I say not employable means they are not having requisite skills. Even if job opportunities are there, let me clarify. Even if job, that's what they explain. Even if job opportunities are there, but people they are not eligible to be employed, or the let's say industries or placement agencies, they got into the institutions. They have let's say 100 vacancies, but they are filling only 40, with the reasons that they are not getting good graduates. There we say that the graduates are not employable. That's the point I want to say. I'm not saying that there are enough jobs. That's another important thing that we all know. In addition to that, let me say, in addition to that, they are not the employers or firms or industries or companies. They are also not getting quality graduates. That's an important thing that has come out. Similar figure was obtained by National Association in ASCOM survey or McKinsey study in 2005 also. Less than 25% of engineering graduates are employable in the labor market in the country, entire country. So 75% of the engineering graduates are not employable. What are the critical questions that needs to be understood in this context? That I have raised a few questions which can be understood, which can be considered as critical, and we all should think on this. Some of the questions that I have written here is why the engineering graduates produced from the system are so poor in quality. It's not about one survey. Repeated surveys are saying, like several studies are saying, international as well as national studies. Who is responsible for this? My second point in this context. Whether the expansion of engineering education is leading to a decline in the quality, that is another set of argument that is being said. But I have counter arguments to this. I might come up in the next slide. That is it the expansion that is actually creating problem for us? That needs to be understood. Yeah, how we can link it? There is some, I think, the writing mistake. How it is linked with the assessment? Is it? That I forgot to add is it linked with the assessment of engineering education? That is another important thing. That is the major focus of the discussion or in this workshop, including the curriculum and pedagogy. Is it the curriculum pedagogy that we follow in engineering colleges? That is a major problem in producing poor quality engineering graduates. What are the strategies? What are the major strategies that are being adopted by regulatory authorities? Specifically, let's say Aicte and NBA to address this, because this is a major concern. So to address this major concern, what are the major strategies that we are trying to adopt or the regulatory bodies are trying to adopt, including Aicte and NBA? The last point are in this, the critical questions. What are the efforts made by the institutional level? This is quite important to understand because we all work at the institutional level. What are the efforts made at the institutional level to improve the quality? Because institution as an entity, as an important entity in imparting education, can take several steps to minimize or to produce quality graduates. What are the institutional level efforts? That's another important thing that we want to understand. So what I want to say in this context, that quality concern in engineering education is an important question that is there in front of us, which is linked with several other important aspects of engineering education in the country. At this juncture, these are some of the questions that we all should ponder over. This is the kind of set of questions that I have looked at, including the assessment of engineering education, including the curriculum and pedagogy. I think this point is clear. If you look at
I want to highlight about the expansion of engineering education and its decline in the quality. That an important thing that is being said, whether that is a myth. I see this as a myth. Let me say very clearly. Because there are several developed countries, even some developing countries, they have experienced massive expansion of higher education and technical education, but they have maintained the quality. It's not that there is an expansion and there is an expansion and that's the reason for declining in quality. We should not say, we should not argue in that line, to my mind. And it's not that the number is increasing, but at the same time, with the increasing in the number, because that's required when there is an increase in access, when there is an attempt to increase the access, there is a need, there is a clear need. There is a clear need to increase the access. For example, in several other disciplines, may not be in engineering for the moment, but let's say in medicine and several other, but that should not deteriorate the quality, or that should not decline the quality of engineering or graduates from a particular discipline. Because we have seen several countries who are expanding at the simultaneously, they are producing quality graduates. So there we are failing. That's an important debate that we all. Let us see what are the major reasons. I want to say a few of them on using the data that I have. One study that came out, I think most of you might be aware of, in 2014-15, I'm not sure, in Hindu, 15 I think. I think some independent researchers, they did in the context of Andhra Pradesh and some other states I highlighted here. Using the Aicte data, share of duplicate faculty recruited in engineering colleges in India. There is a concept called duplicate of faculty, that too in a regular mode. That let's say I am Pradeep Choudhury, I am being appointed in 3 other colleges as a regular faculty. So it's not what we call legally, it's not there. Provision is not there. Such provisions are not there, but still that is happening because Aicte is putting pressure on increasing the number of faculty, and the colleges are ready to get them as a faculty and showing their number and all that. And that's by cross-checking the name and all the details. That study found that in several states, many colleges are in many colleges there are duplicate faculty. I have seen here percentage of faculty which consist of duplicate, and second one, the maroon or the red one is maroon or red, percentage of institutions with duplicate teachers. If you see in several states, the percentage of institution with duplicate teacher in 100, almost all institutions having some 1 or 2 duplicate teachers in engineering institutions. Because teacher plays a critical role in imparting quality education, but we are finding teachers are here, there, they are not, they are located in several colleges where they are teaching not known to many, so kind of hotspots that is there in the recruitment of the faculty, particularly in private engineering colleges, is a major reason that has come out. If you see the blue bar, that is another important thing, saying that in some faculty, the faculty who are whose name are there in how many, let's say in several colleges, that are called duplicate. Let's say if more than one, that is called duplicate. So there are several faculties of such kind who are there in several colleges. So that's an important thing, that the kind of recruitment, the kind of teacher that we are getting in engineering colleges is an important issue, and that is being said often that is an important reason for low quality. Let me get into the PhDs. Number of PhDs awarded and its share to total UG outturn in India. If you like UG, we are getting huge UG enrollment in engineering education. Let me clarify. Lakhs. So also, there is an increasing trend in MTech enrollment in master level. But we are not getting enough PhDs in engineering education, though the trend is increasing. The red line as a percentage is increasing. Even the blue bar is increasing. Close to annually, it is 7,160 PhDs in 2018-19 in engineering. But still it is less than 1% of the UG enrollment. Please see the red line. Red line is 0.86 in 2018-19. That means out of the total UG enrollment in engineering, less than 1% are enrolled in PhD in engineering. Too less. So if we want to get into R&D, improving the faculty, employing quality faculty in engineering colleges with PhD degrees and all that, we are not getting enough numbers. I am not getting into the quality of PhDs at the moment. I am saying about the number itself. The number itself is very less than 1%. So that is a major reason that is often said in the literature, one of the important reasons for declining the quality. Because as we are not getting good quality faculty in engineering education, in engineering institutions, then the teaching learning, including the assessment that we are discussing,
is also hampering. There is no innovation, there is no R&D, research and development activities in colleges. Engineering colleges are largely getting into the teaching shops. So that's what being said many times. I think I am also going to analyze a bit on that. So let me clear some data we got, some perspective we got on different aspects. Let me ask you some concerns. These are some of the important concerns that I gathered from the data set and also by understanding from the literature. Where do we fail in all these things? One is, actually, I just said that transforming engineering colleges, we need to transfer engineering colleges from primarily teaching institutions, largely teaching institutions, to teaching and research institutions. It is clearly emphasized, sorry, this is NEP, not NEPP. NEP, National Education Policy 2020, it is clearly said that there is a clear emphasis of shifting from teaching to research. It's not clearly shifting from teaching to only research. That's not possible because teaching is there. But teaching come research, that's quite negligible in engineering institutions, in several engineering colleges. Research is almost nil. Improving the research ecosystem in engineering colleges. It's not like there are several teachers in engineering colleges. They are quite interested in doing R&D or research, engaged to they're interested in engaging themselves in engineering, R&D, research and development activities, in projects and several other innovations. But there is no scope in the engineering colleges because the research ecosystem has damaged. There are no research ecosystem that is also not developing. In some cases, even if some colleges are, let's say, 30 years old, even half century old, still they don't have infrastructure. Specifically in non-elite engineering, I say elite and non-elite. So non-elite engineering institutions, which are in the bottom line of the ranking and all, so they don't have a facility even to do research. So research ecosystem is very poor. What actually we need to do, there is an enhanced societal and industry linkage. That is an important thing that is being said for long, but that is not happening. We need to build a clear linkage between industry and institution, society, industry, institution, the triangular linkage I am saying, society, institution and industry, that's not happening. We are talking about better curricular and pedagogical arrangements, including teaching and assessment also. Compulsory internships as part of the training. These are some of the initiatives that is even NEP has said, but how far we are achieving is a great question. These are some of the things I said we are failing in these lines. That's what my point is. In the changing labor market situations, the labor market is quite dynamic now, particularly with the emphasis on technology. So in the dynamic labor market, it's important to understand the teaching learning that needs to be done in the classroom and the training that needs to be imparted to the students. What I'm trying to say is, apart from having a good conceptual understanding of basic science and mathematics that we all give to the engineering graduates, the graduates should also need to develop generic skills such as creative and critical thinking that is lacking, problem solving abilities, decision making. My question is our assessment considering this? Is our teaching learning considering this? What kind of innovations that we are doing with the changing nature of labor market, changing nature of the society, changing nature of the technology? What kind of changes that we are doing or inbuilding in the institutional level or in the assessment procedure or in the curriculum or in the pedagogical approach? So I am not saying about only to teachers, I am saying about the institutional leadership, state machinery, all other stakeholders that are involved in imparting engineering education in the country. What kind of changes that we are experiencing? What kind of changes that we are adopting? These are some of the critical questions. I see some data, again, Aspiring Minds 2019 data, if you see, only 2.5% of Indian engineers possesses the skill in artificial intelligence, AI, only 2.5%. 1.5% to 4.5%, that is the range they have given, of engineering possesses the necessary skills in data engineering, which is an important aspect that is required at the moment. Only 2.58% to 5.3% are qualified in wireless technologies that industry requires. These are some of the figures that they have given. That very less number of students who are possessing these kind of skills that are emerging in the labor market, in the current labor market, is very, very less in number. My other important point that I want to say is teaching and assessment of engineering education. I did a survey of engineering graduates in Delhi, close to 1,200 engineering graduates. because here I am getting into the core idea of assessment engineering. I enlarge that idea in other context, but I want to elaborate that little more in this context. Like how the assessment and engineering that I experienced with the students, what they say. That is an important study that I carried out in 1178 undergraduate engineering students. This work is being published in Quality Assurance in Education journal. The survey that I said, my central question in this was what kinds of teaching and evaluation methods were practiced in engineering program and to what extent. This is an important thing. It's not about only to yes, no, it's about the frequency also, to how often these are being used as teaching learning methods. If you see, I interviewed them, like I surveyed the 1200 engineering graduates in Delhi with the idea that Delhi will have students from all over the country. So that was the expectation, that will give a all India picture, that will give an all India picture. That's what the expectation at that point of time. If you see lecture method, close to 80% of the, I think, yeah, 80% of the total students said that lecture method is still dominant in the teaching learning of engineering institutions compared to technical demonstration, laboratory work. Even if there is huge laboratory work is required, even if what we call technical demonstration and other things are required as or are integral part of the teaching learning in engineering, still lecture method is an important teaching learning method that is found among students. They are not getting the alternative teaching method in the classroom. That's an important thing. And what we see in this pandemic situation, let's say in COVID-19, within the entire education system is facing difficulty, but within that, the disciplines like practical disciplines like engineering, medicine, and several other disciplines are suffering the worst because they need practical laboratory work and all that. Even basic sciences, they are hitted because they need laboratory work, and that is not there. I don't want to mention some of the universities, maybe some of the universities that is there in the country. They are trying to impart engineering colleges, but they don't have laboratory facilities. They are carrying the students to different engineering colleges and imparting the what we call these skills there, and then they are getting the classes in campus, but they are getting the training in somewhere else. The kind of arrangement that they are doing for producing engineering graduates. These are some of the instances that we see. So what I'm trying to say, still lecture method is dominant in the engineering education. So that's an worriness, that's an important concern for all of us. Why we are not transforming our teaching learning processes in engineering education. And that might be an important reason for the crisis that engineering education is facing today. That is, I am putting a question in front of you. I'm not, this is not a, what we call my final perception on this. I want to listen in this also from all of you. Around half of the engineering students I surveyed have reported that they have never gone through any field work or industrial visit during their entire program of study. I asked them, have you ever gone to industrial visit or field work, any kind of field work to this while you did the course, Vitech? These are the students who were fourth year of Vitech program. I only looked at the fourth year students, not the first, second, third, because I had some other rationale for that. An important rationale for that was I was looking at the labor market aspect also. So fourth year students were suitable for my survey. So in this case, they said more around half, close to, I think, yeah, 50% of the total students reported that they have never gone any industrial visit in the entire course. Only classroom teaching and some laboratory work and then exam. This is the kind of pattern that were being followed. If you see majority of the percent, as high as 93%, reported that an end of course examination is used as part of the evaluation process. Largely the evaluation that we are discussing, the assessment of students that we are discussing was based on the what we call end term exam, written exam. There are not much evaluation on the practical skills they learned and other things. Only like again the evaluation process through what we call teaching learning, evaluation process through end term exam, as you know, that are largely based on the theoretical writing, mugging off and then writing kind of. So that is already evident in several studies and also in policy documents. So being engineering being a very practical oriented discipline, there is a need to go for other methods of assessment as well, but that's not the case. My survey test is clearly evident, providing the evidence. students' involvement in activities. I asked them what kind of other activities you are involved while you are doing the engineering course, 4 years of engineering course, the Vitech. For example, I asked them whether you are being involved in research projects run by faculty, engineering internships, that those were significantly less than 20% on internships, such as 25 to 30%, I think, as I recall, involved in research projects with teachers. So that number share is very, very less. Though the scope of this is higher in government, though I looked at the government-private difference, in all the cases, let's say, students' involvement in other activities like teaching, practical activities, internships, little higher in government engineering institutions compared to private engineering institutions, but the difference was not so significant. The difference was not so significant, but still there is a difference. That may be largely because the government colleges, they have better collaboration with industries and all that. That gives them a scope to interact with them and sending the students for their internships and all that. That is maybe one of the reasons. But there may be several other reasons. I think I will be happy to listen some of you saying your experience on that. So these are some of the things that the assessment and teaching learning that is happening in the engineering colleges, that is quite worrisome. And what I'm trying to say, what I'm saying here is linked to what I discussed previously. Let's say the quality concerns, the other important crisis, that is the engineering education facing is linked with the assessment and also the teaching learning that is happening in the classroom. Let us look at the NEP 2020 in the assessment and this. We have a National Education Policy 2020, which is approved by the cabinet. Does it offer anything new? That's an important question we all should think, particularly in the technical education. Though it has said very less on technical education, but still I found some important points that I think we need to discuss. What I'm saying, this is again the points those are being raised in the NEP 2020. I would consider them as old wine in new bottle. More or less, these are the things that we have already been said in several times. I think these are some of the points those are being discussed a lot in the literature as well as in the policy domain, policy space. One important thing that it says about the need for closer collaboration between industry and institutions, that is being said often. Even it was being said in other policy documents like in 1986, 66, all policy documents, we keep saying that. But what are the pathways? That is an important thing. This is being said many times. But how we are going to achieve this? Because we are failing in this. Let me say clearly. We still don't have a closer collaboration with industries. And that is hampering our assessment and teaching learning. That is hampering hampering the production of quality engineering graduates in the country. That's very clear. But my point is where we are lacking in this. That is another important thing that we should ponder over. If we are lacking, that is being recognized, then we should get in policy documents or even in the implementation part, there should be clear discussion on pathways, the strategies through which we are going to achieve that. That I am trying to say very clearly. The other important thing that NEP 2020 says is eroding the silos between technical education and other disciplines. The interdisciplinarity of engineering education that I said initially. How the marriage is happening between engineering and other disciplines. That is very weak. We keep trying to enhance that, the interdisciplinarity, teaching, learning, and assessment in engineering education, but that is failing to a larger extent. The marriage that we are trying to do between engineering and other social science disciplines or management disciplines is not happening in the country. Even as a model, we have opened up humanities and social science departments in IITs. But are they actually going for a rigorous integration of social science with the engineering discipline? Several engineering discipline colleges, IIT and NIT is premier institutes, but in several other engineering colleges, state government-run engineering colleges or private engineering colleges, we don't see any the humanities courses as such for the engineering courses, engineering students. The other important thing what I see from my study or from my research on engineering education is there is also less interest among students to opt for humanities courses in humanities and social sciences. But it's not about only the problem with students. We should understand very clearly why that is the case. Why we are not able to build up a linkage between engineering and humanities even in the last couple of, let's say, 4 decades, 5 decades. Why we are failing in that? Why students are not interested in that? This is one important thing that this is being said well before I said, but where are we failing in this is not being said even in this document. I think you all have experiences of teaching engineering students. I would be really happy to see where we are failing in integrating humanities and social sciences, because that is the need of the hour.
Don't you think that? Do you think that engineering students are looking at need for? They are not feeling the need for humanities and social sciences while they are being taught. If they are not feeling the importance of humanity, integration of humanities, social science, or interdisciplinarity approach to study, then that's not the problem of them. That's the problem of ours in the system, I would say. Then in that case, we should find out where the problem lies and what we should do. We cannot wait for long on this. That's the point I want to say. Integrating science and technology with the changing socio-economic and environmental context, that is being said in the NEP 2020. Science and technology and engineering should be clearly integrated with the changing socio-economic settings. But what we are seeing in some of the colleges, curriculum is not being updated for long. Those are being reported in several media, or if we see the visit these the websites and all, we find that they are not updated. Because with the rapid changing in the economy, society, there is a clear need for changing in the teaching learning method and the curriculum that we follow, even the pedagogy, I would say. But we are not doing that. Largely, I want to question whether the institutions that are imparting engineering college engineering degree, whether they are ready for this with the frequent changes in the curriculum and the pedagogy. It's not an overnight affair. It's not about building physical infrastructure, laboratories, building classrooms. This needs what we call competent faculty, which, because producing competent faculty takes time. It's about leadership. It's about integration with the industry. It's about the industry and institution collaboration. So these are some of the important things that needs to be worked in the background while going for integrating the engineering with changing socio-economic context. That is not happening. So preparing professional graduates in areas, in cutting-edge research areas such as artificial intelligence, I said, 3D machining, genomic studies, big data analysis. These are some of the areas that needs to be updated. NEP 2020 clearly said that the technical education should go for this. But do we have institutional base for this? That is my question. Do we have, I'm not saying, when I'm saying institutional base, I am not meaning that it's only at the college level. I am saying beyond college level. Do we have any proper planning to impart those? Or wherever we are trying to do that, are we again producing low quality graduates of this discipline on these disciplines? Then again they will be they will be again unemployed in the labor market. Because it's not about only the numbers that we are producing, it's about all the quality of engineering graduates that we are producing. That needs to be understood clearly. This is being said, my last point on this is creating internship opportunities for students. Internship opportunities for students is an important thing in teaching, learning, and assessment. But that's not being seen even today. We are failing on this for long. Even the situation that was there 20 years ago is almost a similar situation today. We are not taking interest, or we are not sending students much on internships. I am not saying it is all about the institution. It's also about the industry collaboration, which is not happening. And students are not getting into internships. So as a result, what I say that NEP 2020 says about all this on technical education, but how we are going to do that, what are the pathways, those are not clear, because these I see as not very new issues. These are old issues. That's why I said it is what we call new wine in a old bottle, like what we call the same issue that we are being repeating, but without getting into the real issue or the pathways through which we can achieve this. So what I'm trying to say, and I'm going to end in this, is like we know problems are well known. There are several problems that we all face in engineering education, in teaching, assessment, pedagogy, quality concerns that I said, given the wider or broader changes that we see. But what next?
I may not be the right person to give some suggestions because you all are better known to in the system because you are working directly with the engineering students and engineering colleges. Being a social scientist, whatever I have understood from my research, I can give some points which may be debated or which we can debate in our discussion session. I conclude saying that engineering education in the country is at a crossroad. There is no point, there is no second opinion. I think all of you will be agree that this is in trouble. What I found, a fresh approach is required in its expansion and delivery. In both expansion and delivery of engineering education to the society or imparting engineering education among the engineering graduates needs a fresh approach altogether. That freshness in the approach, we all needs to be engaged in that. We all needs to think on that, including the government and even the private providers, teachers, parents, students, and all multi-stakeholders. Like all the stakeholders in engineering education needs to look at, and we should bring a fresh approach to engineering education in the country. Otherwise, this crisis is going to prolong. Like it is going to be there. The other important thing, or then in that, I want to see the role of assessment and also the role of teaching learning. Role of assessment and also the role of teaching learning, I want to see in this context. It is important to reflect on the changing dynamics of engineering education. Engineering education is changing a lot in the society or in the entire higher education discipline. Specifically, I want to highlight that we need to reflect on the quality concerns that I already said, and also the assessment techniques, on assessment procedures, pedagogical approach, curriculum reform. These are some of the things that needs urgent attention. Bringing students from the periphery to the center of assessment. Let me emphasize on this point. What I said from my field study is clear. Students should be in the center of assessment. What they are to learn, what they are learning in the classroom, how they need to be assessed, what are their requirements. There needs to be frequent interaction with the students and teachers. This COVID-19 is creating a gap between students and teachers in the current context, but otherwise also that gap was existing. Only getting into the classroom, teaching, there is a clear need of dialogue between teachers and students often. That will give us a clear understanding on the teaching learning procedure that is happening and also the assessment procedure. So students that are there in the periphery, at the moment, I would say they are in the periphery in several engineering colleges. I'm not saying all, but majority of the engineering colleges, they are in the periphery. There needs to be brought into the center of discourse on the assessment as well as in teaching learning. That's an important point that I want to highlight. I want to repeat that. And that needs to be kept in the mind. Establishing a strong synergy, collaboration between industry and institution, that is being said. Again, I am saying. What I am saying, I want to go one step ahead in saying that involving industries for teaching, learning, and assessment in engineering education. Let industries also come up in teaching, learning, in taking classes, industry experts. I don't know in some of the cases that is happening, but that needs to be scaled up. That needs to be increased. And in the assessment also, there should be a part of this. When I'm saying assessment means they also need to assess if they will be closely, if the graduates are closely working with industries, there should be a part of the assessment in, there should be a part of assessing the graduates, engineering graduates in the country. Then only we'll have a clear synergy and they will have a say on this. New normal of online teaching and assessment now in COVID-19. Another important thing before that I want to say that understanding the classroom dive, this I want to give some time on this. This is an important thing that we all should understand. Being a social scientist, I look at it in a very critical perspective. That understanding the classroom diversity and thereby redesigning the teaching, learning, and assessment strategies. What we see, the classroom composition is changing over the years. Let's say the classroom that was, let's say 20 years back, the engineering classroom is not the engineering classroom today. That is changed. The student composition in engineering has changed. Earlier, let's say the elites, the higher income, middle income families, they were coming to engineering institutions. Now, some of the low income students from low income households, bottom line of the socio-economic background, they are also entering into engineering education. So the classroom composition of engineering education is changing. What we call the classroom diversity. There is a clear diversified classroom in the current context. So given the diversity in the classroom, it is important to redesign our teaching learning and also redesign our assessment. It's not that 20 years back what assessment procedure that we are taking or what are the teaching learning that were there, that may not work because the clients, the students to whom we are teaching, that composition is changing. So that is an important thing that a teacher and also the leaders in the institution should understand very clearly.
I think there is a session on online. I'm not saying much on that. The online classroom teaching learning is a new normal that we all are following, particularly in the COVID-19 pandemic. So in that context, teaching and assessment is becoming a big issue for teachers, including me, because I also take classes on online. So teaching learning is, and that is more so for engineering education because that is a lab oriented, laboratory oriented, practical oriented course. So how teachers are managing in that, how they are assessing, how they are teaching is a very difficult task. We don't have any direct experience on that. You all have direct experience on that. I would be really happy to listen some of your experiences. That will be really helpful for me, that how you all are managing. We are social scientists, we are somehow managing the classrooms through online, but it's very, very difficult practical oriented courses such as engineering. So that's an important thing that needs to be discussed very clearly. But that is the new normal that we are adopting. So this may be very difficult, but how it is happening, it's very clear to say for me, particularly in practical courses. But I face several other difficulty like digital divide and all that. But beyond that, in engineering, there will be several other problems that may not be the case in some other disciplines. That needs to be understood very clearly. I am raising this point only for open discussion. What we see out of all the ideas that we are seeing, including the pedagogical approach, the major problems and linking that with the assessment and teaching learning that I said, we have an array of hopes from NEP 2020. But NEP 2020 is trying to say something, but we have some hopes that it will give a multidisciplinary education, integrating education, engineering with social sciences, integrating engineering with industry, or increasing collaboration with industry, and all that. There is a clear hope from that. For next 20 years, let's see that the NEP 2020 is going to be implemented, how it is shaping the future of higher and technical education in the country. We all need to see and wait for that, particularly the expansion of engineering education and all. So what I try to do, I try to give an orientation towards the engineering education and how the assessment and teaching learning is happening from a social science perspective, because as I said initially that I don't have technical knowledge as such as an engineering field, but I do research on engineering from an interdisciplinary perspective. So that's the reason that I gave an understanding of the discipline and the major issues, macro, even the micro issues that are there in the discipline. I will be really happy. We have enough time, I think. So I will be really happy to listen and also to respond some of the queries if that fits to me. Otherwise, I am really interested to learn from all of you this August gathering. Thank you so much for this. Thank you, the organizer, Basim and others, for providing me an opportunity to share my thoughts. Hope to interact with all of you. Thank you. Over to Basim.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.